Jai Shriman Narayan. Jai Shriman Narayan. Jai Shriman Narayan. I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to our Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to our 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here physically at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally, and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted on YouTube and the various groups from around the world subsequently. We pursue our topic on oneness, but I'm going to deal with a specific subject matter this week, which is inclusive of oneness, but for the purposes of preaching, I'm going to identify this topic in its perspective. But before I begin, and I think the time is appropriate to give you a background of my own experiences. I've did it in tidbits previously, but I want to synthesize it in this discourse so that it can have a substantive effect when it is concluded. So I took my political birth in 1978 when I was in high school, Sastri College. And I was one of the very first to walk out in the school's boycott of that period. I gave my first political speech in that same year at Orient High School. And those of you who are from Durban, you would know Orient High School. Every Indian wedding should take place at Orient. If you got married at Orient, it was as great as if you got married at Kendra today. So Orient High School had a capacity, the hall had a capacity to seat 5,000 adults. And during the school boycotts of 1978, all the schools from around Durban Central and even as far as Maritzburg and even further, we all should attend meetings at the Orient Hall full to capacity, downstairs and upstairs. And I gave my first speech in this hall. So we segregated boys from girls, so the first half of the hall were filled with girls from both co-ed schools and girls' high. And the stage was quite high because those that were getting married had to be seen properly, Vishwadhar. I've stated this before, I'm stating it again. When I gave this speech, it was a written speech. And when I see Vishwadhar preparing for his speeches, it brings to mind my very maiden speech. So my hands were shaking, both the hands, and the speech was shaking. So I had to take my time and read each sentence properly, just because of the shaking of the hand. And every time I completed the sentence, there was a applaud, because substantively I was saying the right thing, and through the shaking of my hand I was speaking slowly. I didn't speak slowly to make it sink. I spoke slowly because my speech was shaking. It was a very nervous experience to face 6,000 to 7,000 people. When you're sitting in the audience, it's different. But when you come on this side, it's another story. But my love for my country was greater than the fear for me speaking publicly. My friend, who is a doctor currently in New Zealand, I hope he comes back to South Africa. I'm sure he'll be shocked to see me seated here. He stated after the speech that my speech was as great as the Prime Minister of that time, B.J. Foster, because he used to also let it sink in, and he thought that I imitated B.J. Foster. But some girls later caught me outside and they said, I saw how your speech was shaking. Okay. So I was in Standard 8. I was still a child. I was in my teens when I took birth politically. And once you become a patriot, it cannot be removed from you, even if you become a guru. As you can see, I am aggressively involved in the political situation of this country. It's in every cell of my being. I know how brutal the security forces were in the apartheid time, because I had the opportunity of being whacked by them. There is a triangle, and the triangle is still there if you go to Orient Gandhi Desai and the race course. There is a yield sign, there is a triangle, and we went and sat on the triangle and we said we would not move. And believe you me, after a few whiplashes, we moved. We moved so much so that I'm not ashamed to tell you that we ran over females that had collapsed. This is how vicious and violent the security forces were. So I'm not sitting here today for fame. I'm sitting here because I am deep rooted in the consciousness of this country. I tried since my political birth, wherever I was, I fought for righteousness. I never had a desire or an inkling to be a policeman. I was taking Mataji's mum for yoga classes in the Bria. And a white lady was conducting this yoga classes. I used to drive a mum around Vishwadhar. Initially, I was also mother-in-law's boy. Vishwadhar. And when I left her at the yoga class and I was coming out, 2 policemen stopped me. And because of my political activities, I assumed they caught up with me. But all they wanted was a number 10 spanner to open a radiator. So I lent them the spanner and I told them I'll be back in about 3 hours to pick up my mother-in-law and they can return the spanner back. I was shaking, Elena. Vishwadhar shakes is nothing compared to how I was shaking on that day. Because I tasted medicine. And when you involved in underground work, when you involved in plotting against the state, you believe every policeman knows what you are up to. You understand? So there was a policeman, I don't know if he's still alive. His name was Sergeant Sayed. When I came back and retrieved the spanner, he asked me, what are you doing currently? And I told him I'm in university. And he said, please join the South African Police Services. I'm in charge of recruiting here. Come and meet me on next week, Friday. And I lied to him. I would. I had no interest in the police force. 2 weeks later, Mataji and I walk in Victoria Street, and guess who we see? Sergeant Said. So I went in just because I didn't know how to tell him no, and I was still afraid. I did not know what they know and what they do not know. So I went and burnt up all my literature. And then I put in an application at the South African Police at SAP Bria. And I think a year later they called me. And I couldn't understand what this policeman was saying. He was saying something about tooth. So I had to extract one of my tooth after I had given them a medical report. And then I joined the South African Police Services. They did not know how to pay me. They did not know how much to pay me. So the first week I worked in the shifts, and my section commander, he had a dent on his bonnet. He had a VW Golf and he had a dent on the bonnet, and I told him I can remedy that dent for him, and he told me he tried to get a quotation. It was very costly, and I told him I have panel beating experiences. I never worked at the station in shifts after that. I worked in shifts, but not at the charge office. For 6 months, I sat with him in the van. I was a van crew. First Indian in the apartheid era to sit on a white man with the white man, Dana. Dana is a former policeman. He'll tell you Indians, blacks, and coloreds, camp guard and patrol. To sit with a white man and drive around was a privilege. I was the first Indian. I broke that protocol because we Indians, we are gifted to make a plan. No matter the circumstances. When I went into the South African police force, there was segregation. Indians had to be at a certain place in the counter, and the whites were at a certain place. You understand? But an Indian knows how to make a plan. And if you painted your section commander's vehicle for free, I had a beautiful 6 months. I had a beautiful 6 months. Van crew every shift. Sergeant Wigzel, I hope he's still alive. I don't know whether Mataji remembers his blue Golf. It was this chair color blue. and he wanted it painted into posh blue, metallic posh blue. And I painted his powder blue Golf into a metallic posh blue. Indians are gifted. I did not steal from the police force. I did not barter with Sergeant Wixel that if I paint your car, you make me van crew. It was a natural thing that Indians do. And this topic is on oneness, but I'm talking as an Indian today. I'm talking as an Indian today. These are natural things that comes naturally to Indians. Christian Indians, Muslim Indians, and Jew Indian. All right? The only Jew Indian in the world. But these are things that we do naturally. We aspire and inspire. We aspire and inspire, and we carry you wherever we go. And I'm stating this with hard evidence. With hard evidence. I'm saying, look at all the multi-billion enterprises around the world today. And majority of the CEOs are Indians. Majority of the CEOs of the multi-trillion dollar industry today, as of today, I'm speaking today, are personalities of Indian descent. Is because it is in our DNA to aspire no matter what the conditions that are imposed upon us. We have been sprinkled around the world. Indians have been sprinkled circumstantially around the world. And wherever Indians have been sprinkled, those countries are in prosperity. Indians take an active role in labor, in education, and in serving those that we live around. You'll always see Indians involved in catastrophes where people of other races were victims. You'll see Indians there with their biryani. You'll see Indians there with their biryani. You'll see Indians there with their curry and rice. Every informal settlement, wherever there are Indians, you'll find Indians serving them. After a flood, in winter, or if the informal settlement gets burnt. The first port of call are Indians. It's a natural thing to serve. It is an impulse of an Indian soul to serve through an Indian body. It is a natural impulse. It is an embedded culture. It is an embedded culture. It is a birthright which very few can deny. Which very few can deny. Indians can persuade anyone. Indians can persuade anyone. Poor Hansi Kronia. An Indian killed him. An astute Christian. Immovable Christian. All right? He was moved by an Indian. So I myself, with this burning desire to serve, I got involved in many substantive endeavors in this country which had both local, provincial and national ramifications. In the police force itself, at a time, if you, Vishwadhar, you're not allowed to talk in satsang. All right? I'll ask the committee to see how much fine you have to leave in the silver bowl. All right? We don't take anything under 1,000 rand at the Sri Narayan Dham. This is how Indians make their money. I'm looking to pay my labor force next week. And this is why Indians are businessmen. Any way to make legal money, that's legal money. Because he's the chairman and he's talking whilst I'm delivering my discourse. And once he donates his 1,000 rand today, our local devotees will never talk in satsang. All right? Look at our initiative. Example, the chairperson himself. And I think I'm 1,000 rand short for samples wages. So everything just works out. I don't have to work. Things work for me. Okay? So I'm sure Lord Narayan felt my pain that I'm 1,000 rand short. And he's also seated in Vishwadhar's soul. And he impelled Vishwadhar to talk so that the Guru could elicit a fine. No, Lord Narayan in me, Lord Narayan in you. Vishwadhar won't feel anything because he's serving Lord Narayan. Okay? See how an Indian can balance it off as well. An Indian can give you genuine reasons. And this is why Indians are businessmen all over the world. It is something that is inherent in us. Don't be jealous of our culture. Don't be jealous of what Indians are ordained with. Sit with us and maybe it will rub off you as well. So in the police force, during the apartheid time, if you stayed away more than 7 days, you would be picked up from your house and lodged in a cell for desertion. That was in terms of the Police Act. So my station commander went on leave. And the second in charge took his position. And he was a member of the AWB. And I was the administrator of the station. I was the administrator, which means everything to do with everything and anything had to go through me, but signed off by the station commander, the second in charge, and whoever was in charge of those departments, because an Indian loves administration. It is in the genes of Indians to be administrators. Go to any company around the world where there are Indians, and you'll find Indians in administration. It is natural. Don't be jealous of something that comes natural to another race. This is inherent in Indians. So this was my position. So I had to go through the station commander's office, pick up communication, make sure the communication was distributed throughout the station, then also leave communication in the tray, then go to headquarters and pick up communication for the station, and also leave communication at headquarters. This was my duty. So when I walked into the station commander's office, my station commander was not there, and the second in charge was sitting He was seated with about 5 members in this khaki, AWB members. And he said, "Hey, Kuli, shut the door behind you." I started my car and went home. I started my car and went home. And I stayed at home until my station commander came back from leave. He called me and he told me, "I believe you have not been at work for a whole month. What must I cover for you now?" I said, "Nothing, sir. I'll see you tomorrow." And I went to work the next day and I explained to him what had happened. Remember, I got this position in the station because of the trust that the station commander had in me. I had keys to the safe, I had keys to the armory. I held the keys during the day at the station. So the station commander called the second in charge and he told him to take me for a drive. And we two went for a drive and he asked me what he can do for me to remedy what had happened, because I was going to open a docket. My promotion was stuck. Generally, promotions in the police force is from headquarters, Pretoria. They'll tell every district how many sergeants, how many warrant officers, how many captains can be promoted. And that's the only time you can be promoted. But I got promoted in a time when there was no promotions, because I told this man, I want my promotion which is due. So we made a U-turn, we went back to the station, and my promotion was sent through in a non-promotion time. Protocol broken. Because you can see, I have been an activist fighting righteousness for myself or for others my entire life. I was not afraid of this police force. They could have detained me, Dana. They negotiated, but they could have had me detained. It was because my station commander was closer to me than a father. He was an Afrikaner. He was closer to me than a father. I was detained at Westville for not paying a gym account. And my station commander and his wife were outside Westville before I was even taken to Westville. This was the relationship between myself and my station commander. Okay? And why you think we bonded like this? Vishwadar? Is because the station was getting 7-star recommendations when it was inspected, which means I was doing my work 1000%. 1000%. No faults could have been found in my work, and if no fault is in my work, no fault in the station commander. You understand? So Indians add value no matter what circumstances, where you put an Indian, under what condition. That was during apartheid. And it was not only me. If you went to every station Dana locally, every station had somebody like me. Yes or no? Yes. Every white station had somebody like me who was an Indian, who was the firehouse of that station, who was the central figure in that station. And every Indian did SAP 6. Today computer do it with one button. Those years we had to do it. We had to balance the crime of a month manually. How many criminals? How many went to court? How many cases withdrawn? How many awaiting trial. We had to do it on a monthly basis. This was given to Indians wherever there were Indians. Even during the apartheid time, Indians made the engine room of government departments that wherever they were employed, made it work. And Indians are still doing it today. So today, I am stating this because when I conclude, you will understand why. So, I did not fear the apartheid government when I was not with them. I did not fear the apartheid government when I was with them. You understand? I took them on. And when I got that promotion, when I was working in the shifts, there came a time in the shifts when the highest ranking white man was transferred somewhere. So there were other whites on the shift, but they were more junior than myself. And in a South African first, see where my first started, Jessica? In a South African first, I wrote the SAP 36, SAP 36. I paraded about 7 white people with blacks, and I posted them because I was the most senior person on that shift, technically, but according to apartheid, even if I was most senior, I was supposed to be under the most junior white, and I refused. I refused because this boy just came from college, his nose was leaking, he was still wet behind the ears. You think I'm going to allow him to post me? You understand? So these white boys, they tasted my wrath whenever they came from college. But again in a Indian way. Rounders, Kentucky rounders were just invented. And the guru would buy Kentucky rounders for all these college students that came back and lace it with Jamal. So I've been an activist. I used any ammunition, Jessica, any ammunition to fight righteousness. So one guy phoned me, his wife phoned me. I don't know if Mataji remembers. She said, my husband, instead of sleeping next to me, is now sleeping outside the toilet door. What have you done to him? At 2 a.m. We didn't have cell phones on the landline. You understand? So, the Guru is not sitting in front here trying to become a public figure. I was already a public figure in my lifetime. Wherever I was, wherever there was unrighteousness, whether it was through me or through someone else, I stood up against it. So I took on the police force, and then I went into politics, 2001, Jessica. people's household items were getting repossessed when their children could not pay school fees. This was my first official political assignment that I took in 2001. I don't want to mention this man's name, he's late. And when I went to his office and he interviewed me, he asked me, what could you bring to this organization? And I said, this is what I have capacity to do. And he said, I give you open mandate. Go and accomplish this assignment. And there was a rally at Chatsworth Center, and the Director General of Education, Duncan Hindle, came down to Chatsworth Center and he acknowledged that what the governing bodies were doing was wrong. It was my initiative that allowed children to go back to school, to get their results, parents to make affidavits, because what they were doing was contrary to the Schools Act of 1996 or 1998, I'm not sure, Jessica, you can check it up and then put the right act in my transcription, all right? So that was my contribution personally in my capacity to this country substantively. You understand? We worked. I have worked. I'm involved in counseling. I've been counseling from that time, Mataji will tell you. When I was not a guru, I was counseling people to get together. Broken marriages. We were bringing people together. I've been working hard my entire life, Jessica. I've been working hard my entire life. And a few years ago, we started this Oneness program, and today it is coming together. I asked Jessica to rein in Karo Charo. I told Jessica, please invite Karo Charo to the ashram. Karo Charo came to the ashram. He's an activist, he's a comedian, and I inspired him to be a politician because I saw that he have what it takes. His heart is in the right place, and he has admitted publicly, and he can come back here and admit that his guru is pushing him in the political arena. So Karo Charo he interviews people on his channel. He is a public figure, he has a lot of followers, and he interviews people on his channel, and he interviewed last week Monday Carl Niehaus. He interviewed Carl Niehaus, and he asked Carl Niehaus, why are there no Indians in the new ANC dispensation? The election, the provincial elections that took place a week prior. And he also spoke about the July unrest. And Mr. Carl Niehaus went on this public platform. Well, even if there's 3 people that listen to this, it's a public platform, you understand? Facebook is a public platform. And he was adamant. And he continued repeating vehemently that Indians in KwaZulu-Natal are racist. Mr. Carl Niehaus repeatedly in this, how many minute segment it is, Jessica? That just this part, about 20? 38. In 38 minutes, he spent most of the 38 minutes making these insinuations that Indians are racist. Now remember, Carl Niehaus is not a Mickey Mouse. He has been spokesperson for the ANC as an institution, for former President Nelson Mandela as a personality. And when you become a spokesperson of an organization, you substantively have information of all aspects of life. It's one of the qualifications. If you come on a public platform and in 38 minutes you spend majority of the time insinuating that Indians are racist, then he did it for a purpose. He wanted to make a point. He is the spin doctor of the ANC. He has always been the spin doctor. You know what's a spin doctor? You can shuffle any information to give an answer. That's a spin doctor. Many wives are like that. Many wives are spin doctors. If you ask them, why is this orange here? They'll tell you because the banana was there. They won't tell you why this orange is there. So wives are generally spin doctors. You can title them doctors. Jessica? I see Satish is happy in the back. That is why I said Jessica. All right. So through my legal system, through Jessica, our attorney, and reputed judges and magistrates, I think we send this information around. We want to do this the right way. We are going to be sending Carl Niehaus, Jessica, personally, we need to find his email address, and through the Jacob Zuma Foundation, a letter. And a MK Veterans Association, of which he is a chairperson. We are going to send him a letter to come back onto the same platform and apologize unconditionally for making this remark. This will be from the auspices of the Sri Narayan Dham. Carl Niehaus, we're going to be civil. We don't want to be like him. This is an ashram. We're going to give him 2 weeks or 1 week. If he does not correspond, then we're going to take him to the Equality Court and we're going to lay civil and criminal charges against him. Because I said at the Sri Narayan Dham, as long as I am alive, if something crosses my path, I'm going to take you on. This is not a traditional guru. This is not a traditional guru. I'm not going to say God sought out Carl Niehaus. God has given us a country and He's also given us a justice system. And God will want us to use the justice system. I am sick and tired. I am sick and tired of being marginalized in this country. I am 59 years old. I have been squashed by apartheid. Now I'm squashed through democracy and BEE and triple BEE. When my grandchildren grow up, and if they want to go to medical school, they must go through medical school with their merits. They must go to medical school with their merits. We are too many years in democracy to step aside. We are too many years in democracy to step aside. And I want Carl Niehaus to understand that this country is where it is today because the first revolutionary that took on the oppressive government of this country was an Indian. An Indian lit the fire of revolution in South Africa. That same Indian engaged directly with the leaders of the founders of the African National Congress. Subsequently, Indians in proportion to being an Indian in South Africa, 1:40, I think, or 1:50. Although this ratio existed between Indians and blacks, substantively, in the struggle to liberate South Africa, Indians stood shoulder to shoulder with the black majority. And it is our birthright. It is our birthright to be treated equally in South Africa in every aspect of the existence of this country. It is our birthright. Not because we flew from India after democracy. We are the substratum of this democracy in this country. We are the substratum of this democracy in this country. That position is not going to shift. So Mr. Niehaus is going to be taught a lesson. Indians in India suffered 1,000 years continuously of discrimination, violence, torture, rape from the Muslim Mughals for 700 years and then the British for 300 years. It is the resilience of our forefathers that gave us this ability in countries wherever we've been dispensed to withstand oppression, live side by side with it, and survive. Those Indians that came here in 1960 had to be the poorest of the poor. 1860, sorry. They came here with no money. They suffered this even worse oppression than the blacks because our forefathers were slaves. Blacks still had their freedom. You understand? From the position of slavery, In South Africa, we are doctors, lawyers, businessmen from the position of slavery. So Mr. Niehaus joined the struggle from the position of Jessica? Wealth. Indians joined the struggle from the position of suppression. He has no right. And he stated on that program that this view is from black leaders that he has spoken with. So he did not experience racism from Indians. This is a third party allegation that he is making. And is making a very, very dangerous allegation. He is making a very dangerous allegation. During the July unrest, I was called by members of the MKVA, myself, and they informed me that there is some consensus amongst blacks that there is racism which is involved in that violence. And I know these people from a long time, and they know me from a long time. But I just gave them an example, Jessica. I said, we came with you. We did not go to an Indian settlement. We know all the Indian poverty-stricken settlement, but we came to you with you. And we donated curtains, blankets, pillowcases, and food, where only 5% were Indians and 95% were blacks. If we did this, I did this as the head of the institution, and we had all Indians with us when we did this donation drive, and you assisted us and showed us who needs what more than anyone else, how can you ask me this question? Because they asked my son Sean the same question. And this was in the midst of the looting and the murders that took place. So I want to conclude, and I said that the Sri Narayan Dham, 1 + 1 must equal to 2. There was riots in 1949. There was riots in 1986, 87. Those people in 86, 87, they were dislodged. They left their houses burning and they were dislodged. They left their houses empty-handed. Where were they relocated? Where did this uprising take place? Where did this looting take place? How many thousands from Inanda were involved in that phoenix, either first generation or second generation? How many thousand? What would their mental state be? What would their psychological state be? 1986, 2022, same scenario. How healthy would their mind be? What mode would their human mechanism engage in? Before you deem Indians racist and squarely blame all these murders, on Indians, and which I have prayed for in many of my satsangs for those that lost their life, you also have to understand the mindset of those Indians when they went into defense mode naturally. You have to take that into cognizance. 30 years ago, my parents had to live with nothing. Today, the same thing is happening. What mode kicks in? You understand? I'm not saying this is the case in every case. And who do you blame? Our Indians that stood shoulder to shoulder with our black brothers to attain this democracy, today they are in their graves. Many of them are in their graves. You think they would have ever thought that July 2021 could take place in this new dispensation? You understand? So, Indians in South Africa are rising. Indians are no longer under the Gandhian principle of passive resistance. Take my house, I'll start over again. Indians will no longer accept racist comments from anyone, especially not me. I didn't allow it in apartheid. When I was called a coolie, I risked imprisonment for righteousness. You think today I'm going to be seated here in a democracy and with the leverage that I have not only in this country but around the world and leave Mr. Spin Doctor to weave lies into the mindset of South Africans? So we're going to take this issue full on, Jessica, with the might of the law and the might of the Lord. Jai Shriman Narayan.